This show is brought to you by Whatever You Say Productions, starting conversations since 2018.
Is that a G? C, D, G? Is it an E?
I don't know. I barely passed ear training, dude.
Oh, it's a D. No. Nope.
No.
That's how you go down. Okay. Nope. Yeah, it is. Whoa, it's a D and a C sharp. Almost. No. I don't know. Whatever. Anyways, welcome back to this, the 7th, 8th episode? 5th? 6th? 7th, 8th episode? I don't know. What episode are we on? You make all of the marketing stuff.
Oh, God. You want me to know these things?
I mean, because you know what? It's confusing me because originally we were Dicks and Politics and we were already episode. We were already up to episode like 30 on that or something. Whatever. It's me, Samantha. And I'm here with Abby. Abby, how are you?
I'm good, Sam. How are you?
I am just fine and dandy. Abby, did you know that the Spice Girls have come back, minus Victoria Beckham, have come back for a 3-night concert series? Did you hear about this?
Yes, and I'm beyond upset that they are not coming to the U.S. because I need some Spice Girls in my life and Baby Spice till I die. Just saying.
I know. I have serious FOMO, but I do know that, so Victoria Beckham didn't make it, which Aurora and I talked about this earlier. I get it. You run a huge, really busy, successful company. You have 4 children. You have a husband. You've moved on to the next chapter in your life. I get it. But why the hell couldn't she just come back, even if for just one performance, for a 10-minute, 3-song set on maybe the last night? Why? Well, I Victoria Beckham, please DM me. Let me know what it is. But anyways, we have a lot to talk about in this episode, and it's going to be sort of a little mishmash of things. So we're going to start out with What's Burning, which is our world news and political segment, which Aurora is now officially leading. We will be sitting down to talk about what's happening in Sudan, which is devastating and really difficult for a lot of different reasons, mainly because there's so little information that's actually coming out because they have a blackout in terms of the internet and cellular data and things like that. So it's very hard to know exactly what's happening, but we will walk you through the history. Then we're going to get into a little bit of a mix between what's burning and hashtag. We have to talk about Taylor Swift's new video really quickly. And then, of course, we have to touch upon the absolutely brilliant news that came out of Brazil just in time for Pride Month. And then finally, because Mr. Mike Hitless is not here, Abby and I are going to wrap up the episode with It's Bro Time. So without further ado, the world premiere as in the hands of the brilliant, beautiful Aurora Trenton. Stay tuned for What's Burning. Aurora.
Sam.
This is going to be very difficult for us to report on because for a lot of reasons. I think that this story really hits home, even though we can't directly relate to it because you and I are both very lucky to be either American citizens. You're half American. I live here in the US, you're over in the UK. And even though we have experienced an amount of political turmoil, it's nothing quite near what people in Sudan are experiencing. And it's affecting everyone. It's affecting men, but especially women and children. And like I said, I have not been able to report on this for Slam It with Sam because how do you fit this story into 60 seconds? You simply cannot. And if you tried, it would be most disrespectful. So let's start off with how all of this happened in Sudan. You pronounce it Sudan because of your beautiful accent. I call it Sudan because I'm a gross American. But essentially, the people of Sudan very much want to live in a democracy, like you and I do in the UK and in the US, which means they want their voices and opinions to not only be heard, but matter in terms of when it comes time to vote. They want to be able to sort of sway the vote for what they think is best for their country. That's how all of this started. And now here we are. And there are riots in the street. There are women that are being raped by militia, and it's really, really difficult. So I'll start off with, it was a few months ago now that the president, his name is Omar al-Bashir, or Omar Hassan Ahmad al-Bashir, who was the president of Sudan, and he was in power from, I think it was 1989 until 2019, when he was overthrown. And the very, very scant amount of news that was coming out of Sudan at the time was, okay, the president has been overthrown and arrested, so he's gone. In the interim, the military will be in charge. We can expect that there will be curfews. I think it was like a 9 p.m. curfew. No one was allowed to go out after 9 p.m. And that is sort of what life would be like until a new leader was elected. Cut to this past week, and we're now in absolute crisis mode and turmoil. Why don't you talk to our listeners about why you and I are having so much difficulty reporting on this, not only emotionally, but from a factual standpoint?
Of course. So emotionally, it is such a heartbreaking story. Hundreds of people have died. Hundreds of people have been injured. Nearly 100 people, I think, as well, have been raped. And it's just such a grave situation. They're being very kind of outwardly about what is happening within the community. So the people who are being raped, they're putting their undergarments on sticks and they're putting them around the city. Bodies are being thrown into the Nile. So it's very much a very savage situation. But from kind of a logistic perspective, they have put a media block on the country. So information is not able to seep in or out, which means that our media platforms, all the news is not able to get accurate information about what is happening in Sudan. And it just makes it really difficult, first of all, to understand what is happening, but also to understand what we can do to help, if anything. I was reading an article from a journalist who's currently out there, and she was saying that it is so difficult to communicate with her colleagues here in the UK to be able to give them information as to what they can report. So she was having to give them normal texts, and then the coverage would fall and the text wouldn't go through. So it's just really difficult for them to communicate, and it's difficult for information to seep through.
And it's like, I get it. No, I don't get it. I don't get it. I shouldn't say that. Like, I get it because this is all about power. Like, let's just call it what it is. This is 100% a power play. It's them trying to control how this is not only dealt with there, but also how information is being shared about what's actually happening. And what's maddening about it is I feel like as a citizen of the world, I have a right to know what's happening to these people in other parts of the world. And maybe that's me being presumptuous and entitled and selfish, but I feel like I have a right to know what's happening in the world as someone who consumes the news. It's also maddening because I don't know how to help. And I'm sorry that I'm raising my voice, but here I am. I'm over here in the US. I'm a woman. I know what it's like to not have equal rights as a human being just because I'm a woman. I know what it's like to be assaulted and have that taken away from you and how it changes you. And I'm standing here and I just don't know how to help. And it makes me really, really angry for a lot of reasons other than what I just said. So that's why I am just so frustrated by this blockage and frustrated by the lack of information. And there have been so many different news outlets like The Guardian, like BBC, the New York Times, Refinery 29, who wrote a really great article about like, okay, like here's why all of this started. Here's what it's like for people on the ground. Here's what's happening now. Here's what we can maybe expect next. But the fact that we can't get live, up to date, day-to-day information just really pisses me off. So, sorry. This is why, like, NBC probably won't call me and give me a news show, because it'll just be me standing there sweating, like banging on a desk, being pissed. Maybe Fox News will hire me. They seem to like all that stuff. Shout out to Tommy Lahren. Anyways, so, oh God, I mean, I can't imagine what it would be like to not have my voice matter. And I can't imagine what it must feel like to be trapped in a country and know that, like, if I wanted to ask for help on an international level, I can't. If I want to update people on an international level about what's really happening and how they can help, I can't. You and I have always had the luxury of living in a first world country and in a democracy. Have you ever thought about what it would feel like if all of your rights were just completely taken away from you overnight and there was nothing you could do about it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's definitely a frightening thought. I think when it comes to kind of a day to day in a really busy country, in a really busy city, which we both live in, I think you get to a point sometimes where you're like, oh, wouldn't it be nice if someone just made the decisions for me and I didn't have to worry about making appointments or what I was going to eat tonight or whatever. And then you stop yourself and you think, actually, no, I don't want to be a quote unquote puppet. I want to be able to make my own decisions. And the poor people of Sudan haven't even been given that right. They don't have the right to democracy, and we do. So we should recognize that right, and we should use it as much as we can.
Yeah. I'm looking at this article by Refinery 29, and it mentions how a lot of celebrities like George Clooney and Rihanna, and I know that Lauren from Fifth Harmony, like they're all doing everything they can to raise awareness, and they're talking about these difficult things, and they're showing these awful images, like you said in the beginning, of women's undergarments after a rape occurs being put on a pole and paraded around the city as some sort of a prize. And something that also frustrates me is like, okay, so we sit here and we talk about how we want to help, but a lot of times finding organizations that actually will put their money where their mouth is can be really difficult. I know for the US, and I don't know if it's the same for the UK or the rest of the world, but for the US, if you're looking for an organization that will actually do what they say they're going to do, what you want to look for is someone who does have a 5013C. And that means that they have had to go through the process of having their organization in a sense, like investigated to be sure that they are both a nonprofit and a not-for-profit organization, that they have a bank account and a financial system that's set up so that all of the money that they get as donations or investments or, you know, whatever it may be, do actually go to what they say they're going to go to. So, like, I know a friend of mine set one up, and she wanted it to go to different mental health organizations. And it took her a long time to not only copyright the name of her organization and all of their sort of proprietary content that they were creating, but then go through the whole process to make her organization an official 5013C and so on and so on. So when you guys are looking for places to help, and we hope that our listeners who may have better connections or more knowledge than us about this, we do hope that you'll reach out to us and let us know. But a lot of times when you see someone on the Ellen Show or the Oprah Show or any kind of a news program, those organizations have been investigated by whomever it is that's putting their name out there, so you can trust them. And we all know, you know, like UNICEF and the Red Cross and so on and so on. But Aurora, how is this affecting those smaller nonprofit and not-for-profit organizations? Because I know that there are quite a few out there that really are there to help, and they're prepared and they're doing it all the right way, but they are kind of getting overshadowed. And I know you had an experience this past week where you got totally played by an organization that looked legit and wasn't.
Yeah, so I actually saw something on a friend of mine's Instagram story, and it said, for every kind of share and follow, we will provide a meal to a Sudanese child. And I was like, okay, cool, let's do this. And it actually came back and bit me in the ass, because then it was actually fake, and it was just a company or a profile that was just looking to get likes. And I think, first of all, how sad are you that you are benefiting from people actually dying just to get followers? Because eventually they were just going to change their name, add some other posts, and then they'd go viral. And I'm like, you need to just stop. But also, I think for smaller organizations who might not have the big names, such as the Red Cross or Doctors
Save the
Without
Children,
Borders or Save the Children, or
Change.org.
Exactly. Those big names, it can definitely hurt them, because they might have their heart in the right place. They might want to do the best thing for Sudan and whoever they're trying to help. It might not be this situation. But just because they don't have a big name, they might be kind of overshadowed and they might be seen as less legit. So I think even when you are trying to help, to stay on the safe side, go for the bigger organizations. But if something does come on your radar and they are a small organization and you think that they might have something different to bring to the table, definitely look into them. Even just message them on Instagram or message them on Facebook or wherever you found them. Try to find more information about them, see if they are legit, and maybe that might help them as well.
Yeah. And also another thing that I like to do is I like to go on LinkedIn. So if I see, and I've talked about this a lot on the other podcast, Microscope, because it's the same thing. You know, we all want to help save the ocean, save the planet, get involved. You know, what can we do? But you see all these companies popping up that are like, oh, for every like bracelet we sell, we're going to take 10 pounds of trash out of the ocean. Like, bullshit. No, you're not. So what I like to do is I like to type in the name of the supposed organization into LinkedIn to see what pops up. And then if it does pop up, I will look into, and if it says, oh, you know, 10 employees, 50 employees, I will click on the employees and I will go ahead and I will direct message one of them and say, hey there, I really admire your cause. I want to help, but I'd like to have a conversation with you first to learn more about what you're trying to do. And I'll tell you, a lot of times they don't write back because they're fake. And that's what sucks. Like, it's just, oh my God, the people, it's all a power play and it's preying on vulnerability. And I just, oh God, as a species, humans, we are the most brilliant creatures on this planet, but we can also be the most brilliantly disappointing one of them all. And that's what I can't stand. So unfortunately, I mean, we wanted to talk about what's happening in Sudan, but we can't give you much more information than we did in this segment because we don't have access to it. And the people who do know what's going on, they can't communicate with what's happening outside of the country because there's a whole blockage of information. So our best advice to you is this. Here's what's happening. Here's why it's happening. No one knows what to expect next. To be fair, whenever there is a political turnover, like when we're going from one president to the next, there is, of course, a little bit of, you know, fuzziness that happens during that transition, but nowhere near the violence that is taking place in Sudan. So if you're looking for a way to help, I know that UNICEF and Save the Children have both been heavily involved with Sudan in the past. So you can start there. And then, of course, like I said, if you're here in the U.S. and you're looking for a U.S.-based organization that helps, look for that 501(c). Reach out to them, email them, call them, go to their website, do everything you can to make sure that your money is going to go where they say it will go, and go from there. I'm sorry that this is heavy. I'm sorry that this is unpleasant, but that's, unfortunately, that's all we can share with you because that's all we can get out of the country. So, Aurora, do you have any closing thoughts before we transition into Behind Closed Doors?
Just for any listeners out there who may know of organizations who are willing to help, have any personal experiences with the situation, or just have something that they want to share, just let us know. Slide into our DMs. You can even drop us an email or whatever, however you want to get in touch. Just let us know. Because we're more than happy to reach out and help share things on our platforms and stuff. So
absolutely,
definitely get in touch.
Yep, and you can email Aurora. It's super easy. It's just Aurora at whateverousayproductions.com. And Or you can just slide into our DMs at the Newsstand on Instagram and let us know, because we want to help, but we're just, in a lot of ways, we are just as stumped and just as frustrated as the rest of you. But something I would like to say is that it is always worth it to raise your hand. And there are times in your life where you really do need to dig in your heels and stand up for what you believe in, especially if it's for the greater good. So to all the people in Sudan who are doing just that and who are being punished for standing up for and fighting for what they believe is right, we want you to know that we are thinking of you, and we see you, and we hear you, and we're doing what we can to figure out how we can help you. We're proud of you. We love you. And as humans, we stand in solidarity with you. Let's lighten things a little bit and talk very quickly about Taylor Swift's new video that came out for You Need to Calm Down. First of all, what do you think of the song?
I like the song. I think it's fun. I think it's upbeat. I know we've all been going back and forth about what we think. Is it, is it crap? Is it good? Is it what? It's Taylor Swift. I think it's going to be a summer anthem just because it's who she is, and how could she not have a summer anthem? But I thought it was fun. I caught most of the music video today, and I thought that was super fun too. I didn't get to the Katy Perry, Taylor Swift hamburger French fry situation, but I'm glad they made up. I'm glad the feud is over.
Yep, I am too. I love how we have this whole group chat with all the girls at WISP, and Dana Powell, who does When I Knew with me and who's also on Modern Family. She's so sweet because she is so mature and diplomatic about things, and she'll just be like, it wasn't my favorite and it won't make it onto my playlist. I'm like, Dana, just say it. Just say it. You can't stand it. But, I think it's a fun song. I really like the message behind it. Adriana and I kind of agree that we think it's rather convenient that she's suddenly like this huge advocate for the LGBTQ community when she's never really voiced her stance on that one way or the other. But as people who are also huge supporters of that community, I'm really glad, GLAAD, that she made this video and that she included so many icons from that community. And I loved seeing that she made up with Carrie. I thought Carrie, oh my God, Katy Perry. I thought it was really cute. The music video itself, I don't understand what it means. I know people are like, oh, let's break the code apart. Like, they're in a trailer park. There's lots of colors. I don't really know what that means. I don't know if it's like coming up from nothing and being I don't know what the message is, but whatever. The only like Easter egg that I found out about that I thought was interesting was Taylor was on the Ellen DeGeneres show a few weeks back, and they had what seemed like a very kind of awkward exchange about Ellen asking if she could be in Taylor's next video, and Taylor being sort of like, oh, I guess if you want to. And it was a little bit awkward to watch, but a fan did point out that the same tattoo that Ellen had on her arm in the music video, that she was getting tattooed on her arm, was already on her arm at the time of that interview. So, you know how I was going back and forth in the group chat, and I'm like, they said that they dropped Easter eggs in this interview. And then, Abby, what did I say it was? Didn't I say it was going to be something like yes, absolute, or something like that? I'll have to go back. I predicted something.
Yeah, I can't remember. You did. And
I was wrong. I was very, very wrong. But in other wonderful LGBTQ forward-moving news, we found out this week that Brazil officially criminalized homophobia, which I think is just fantastic. What do you think?
I'm so excited. And I feel like it's a unique thing. You don't hear a lot about, you hear a lot about all these states and countries and, decriminalizing homosexuality, but you don't hear a lot about the punishment of those who, I can't think of the word,
who are bigoted against.
Yes, that's the word. Yep.
Yeah.
And are hurtful and hateful and hate crimes and all this kind of stuff. So you don't hear about things like criminalizing homophobia. So I think it's a very unique situation that Brazil has brought to the forefront, and I think it's fantastic, and it could
Yeah, me
not come
too.
at a better time.
Me too. And they also criminalized transphobia, which makes me so happy because, as some of you might know, we have welcomed a new person to Whatever You Say Productions. His name is Jason, and he was the most recent interviewee on When I Knew, and he's trans. And for me, you know, I know Jason and I care about him, and I have other friends that are trans. I just can't imagine them feeling like they would be able or not be eligible for any type of justice for crimes against them simply because they are trans. And so Brazil, good on you. It was after 6 sessions that the federal Supreme Court voted 8-3 to criminalize acts of homophobia and transphobia. And it's following the Congress's inaction. So good on them. I'm absolutely thrilled. And I can't say enough good things. I hope that more countries and states and cities follow suit. But you know what, Abby? Let's get into your area of expertise, and let's do It's Bro Time. It's been a few weeks since I've been on It's Bro Time, so I shall do my very, very best. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, join us for our last and final segment, It's Bro Time. I want you to imagine a small, modest stage, a fog machine, filters over the lights so that they look like stars as a woman emerges with basically a mullet, a black outfit with puffy sleeves, and a microphone. And Abby, when she opens her mouth, what does she sing?
Bum, 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 bum.
Gloria. Oh my God. Yep, it's a good one. It's a classic. So, it's me, Mike Cutless. He doesn't sound anything like that. What does Mike even sound like? The tide is high, but I'm holding on. It's bro time.
Oh, Kitless, we're sorry.
I know. Sorry, Kit. He'd be like, hey, yeah, it's all right. It's all good. Yeah, totally. For sure. No, that's not a good kid either. He's such a great guy. I can't do it. I can't do him justice. But all right, let's start off with the Bruins, who I can't believe, like the whole Stanley Cup. I just can't believe the Bruins lost the Stanley Cup. Why don't you tell everyone what happened?
Well, Gloria had the Bruins number. That she did. And for those of you who don't know and aren't familiar with why Sam and I so beautifully just sang Gloria, it is the theme song of the St. Louis Blues, who defeated the Bruins in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. It was disheartening if you're a New Englander, if you're a Boston fan. Like, I was watching it. I was out at a bar actually watching it, and every time I looked over, I was like, 3-2. It's 3. What? 4. What is going on? They just couldn't. I don't know. Rask got no help, and just it was sad. It was sad. Sam, did you catch any of the Stanley Cup final game?
I did not.
This has been a good talk.
I just, because I rely on you and Kit to tell me what's going on in the world of sports. I have a tendency, especially when I watch basketball, I get heart palpitations. Basketball, I've said it before, I'll say it again. It's the only sport I understand. And even though John, who used to host this show, sat me down and like walked me through hockey, and if I remember correctly, there's always 7 people out on the ice. They wear mittens, mouth guards. They need to be really careful that they don't slice each other's like hands off, and that there's a puck. And that most of the sticks are made out of some sort of like a really light aluminum, which is nice. So it, makes it a little bit easier for them to go booming around. I don't really know much. about hockey, and I don't know. I'm also just like a weirdo. Like when I go to when I go to rock concerts, and by rock concerts I mean when I'm at a small local bar and there's a local band playing, I'm the weirdo that like walks right up to the lip of the stage and sticks my face in the guy's guitar so that I can watch what he's fingering. That doesn't sound so I can watch his fingering. Yeah, yeah. So no, I did not watch it, but I am really surprised that the Bruins lost. I feel like they're such an iconic team. They have such a track record of being dominant. Whether they win or lose, they're definitely a force to be reckoned with. And I can't really believe that they lost. But any hoodles, that's my 2 cents.
So we're going to go from one upset to another. Speaking of basketball, Warriors Raptors. Ooh, man, those Raptors. I was so happy. Go Raptors, go Raptors.
Where are they from?
Toronto. So before we get into all the happiness of the
Wait.
Raptors winning, what?
Wait, what?
They're from
Wait,
Toronto,
okay.
Canada.
Yeah, yes, thank you. Thank you. I know where Toronto is. But I thought that it was only like US teams play US teams and Canada teams play Canada. We mix and match with Canada?
Yes, we do, just like we do in baseball.
Really? We do it in baseball too?
The Toronto Blue Jays.
This is why I don't host this segment. I know nothing. Wow. Okay. Wait, do we mix with like South and Central and like Latin America or just Canada?
Just Canada. But we do. There are a lot of players that come from other countries to play on, Toronto, just like we do with hockey as well. And a lot of the typically better hockey players have come from Canada. So,
oh, well, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, up where it's cold. The
Where
Blues
have
were
I
the
been?
underdog in the Stanley Cup Series, and the Raptors were the underdog in the NBA Finals. And before we delve into the game itself, quick, need to mention it. Our thoughts and prayers are with the city of Toronto. There was a shooting at the Raptors victory parade today, and 2 people were injured. Fortunately, non-life-threatening injuries.
Where was the parade? Was it in Toronto?
Yes, it was in Toronto.
Do they know anything about the people that were injured or the shooter?
I have not heard anything more beyond that. I'm just checking, see if anything else has popped up. I'm
glad everyone is okay, and I'm glad that law enforcement and security, hopefully, I assume, were able to intervene before anyone else got hurt.
I presume so, but anyway, we'll turn to the happiness of it with the Raptors upsetting the Warriors. Well, some people would think it was an upset. Drake would think it was not an upset, and it's just the way it's always supposed to be.
Wait, did you see Mini Drake? Did you see that whole thing?
I did not.
Yeah, apparently, like, there was like a Mini Drake, and then people were like, Drake is using Mini Drake for more publicity to be more of a distraction again. And I'm like, Drake, just go home. Just go home. Just sit down. It's fine. Yeah. It'll be fine. Oh, well.
So it was quite the game. It was an interesting result, and definitely I don't think anybody thought it was going to work out that way. But I'm all about the underdog. It's I believe their first team franchise win, which is the same for the St. Louis Blues. So we had 2 teams that have never won championships winning. So I think that's phenomenal. It is. I like it.
Okay.
And so it was great. And now we got some time. Kitless and I will be talking about the NBA draft coming in July. So when that happens, we'll have lots to say about that. But sticking with basketball, another... Yes, good job, Sam.
I know one thing.
Yes, you do. It's a very exciting day. The Cavaliers have selected a new assistant coach, and she is the former head coach of the University of California at Berkeley, Miss Lindsay Gottlieb, And she is one impressive lady. And now she is not the first woman to be selected for an assistant coaching or player development type position within the NBA. I believe she is the eighth. But her record at Cal Berkeley, she had 159 wins and 76 losses in 8 seasons. She is just one heck of a coach right there. And she took the program to the first ever Elite Eight and Final Four in 2012, 2013. She was a Naismith National Coach of the Year finalist. So I was reading a lot of articles. The Cavs are really excited about what she's bringing to the table. And of course, she's very excited as well. She's no stranger to working with NBA teams. I was reading she's had some experience with actually the Warriors. She working with them, not in any official type capacity, but being involved and connecting with the coaches and the owner and things like that. So I think it'll be very exciting to see a woman at that level on that stage. It's not something I ever recall seeing, but growing up in Yukon country, Rebecca Lobo and Sue Bird and all these amazing women. It is very cool to see, and I hope it is a trend for the future that there will be more female coaches in the NBA.
For sure. I mean, I remember when we were growing up, it probably started around the time we were finishing up elementary school, that the Yukon Huskies women's basketball team started to just dominate. And suddenly there was merch in every single store, and they were making national headlines. And it was so cool to watch this, semi-local to us college with this powerful women's basketball team on the rise. And it was also really nice for me as a younger woman, and I'm sure for you as well, to hear the interviews that those girls did. And they were well-spoken, and they were serious athletes. In terms of Lindsay, it looks like, I found a quote earlier, it looks like she was having a conversation with Colby Altman, who's the GM, and they were kind of going back and forth, and they were talking about when they hired John, and how do you pronounce his last name? Is it Bylane?
I think so.
Something like that?
Yeah, it sounds right.
And so they were just kind of having a very casual conversation about it. And then evidently, according to her, and I quote, and he looked at me and said, we want to do things differently here in Cleveland. We want to build the best staff around the coach, and we're interested in having you on that staff, end quote. And it took me about a minute and a half to put my job back off the ground. And the talk started from there. I mean, what an absolutely iconic moment, not only in sports and in your career, but as a woman in really a male-dominated sport in terms of coaches. Like you said, she's not the first, but she's definitely one of a select few. I'm so happy for the Cavs. I'm really happy for Lindsay. I think that this is a fantastic and really admirable decision. And I think that, someone said something to me when they were asking me, well, why did you start this company and so on and so on. And I brought a little bit of gender into the conversation. And I made a comment and I said, I feel like it's time for me to kind of stand next to the guys, pull up right next to them, and get the job done just as well. And she said, okay, I agree with you, but maybe a better way for you to say it is not to make it sound like you're competing with them or working against them, but rather that you're working with them. And of course, that's what I meant, but that's not what I was articulating. So I'm glad she pointed it out to me. And I think that this is a perfect example. There's something really powerful about people coming together that really know their stuff. And I think that having a man and a woman's point of view just makes in this case, can make a really powerful team. And I'm looking forward to what happens to them as the season approaches. Did I sound sporty there? I feel
you
like
did.
I almost did.
I'm very proud of you. Nicely done.
Thank you. Ooh, I just dropped my phone. Any hoodles noodles. Well, no, I'm just really looking forward to this. And I'm also really hopeful for what it means to other young girls that want to get involved in sports and in athletics, maybe not necessarily as a player, but as a coach or as a talent manager, someone like that. I just think that this opens a lot of doors. I think that it's time. I think it's the right time. And because this is already such a cultural conversation right now about women that are really up and coming and standing their ground and standing next to the men and working in tandem, oh, I just like what's happening in Brazil. I'm so excited about that. I'm excited about this. Not excited about the Bruins losing, but that's whatever. I already said that. And yeah. So quick, say something else before I pull out my flute again.
All right. So we're going to wrap things up. We're going to get off the court and off the ice and onto the track. I hope that was my best Mike Kitlis. He would have had something much more eloquent to say.
What's another word for like pavement? Like, what do you call it? Hit the
asphalt, hit the tar. I don't know, but anyway, we are going to head over to the NASCAR Truck Series. So NASCAR was off for Father's Day weekend, but the Truck Series still did happen. And not the only reason I bring this up, but I will confess, my boyfriend goes, "You got to talk about this." I said, "Okay, fine, I will talk about this."
Does he even listen to this show?
He listens to me talk about it.
Exactly. So he'll never know.
Yeah. And it's actually worth mentioning. It truly is worth mentioning. So during the Truck Series on Sunday, there was a small hit. Austin Hill kind of tapped the back end of Johnny Sauter and spun him a bit. And so he went towards the pits and caution came out. And when he came back out, he full on Johnny Sauter smashed into Austin Hill, pushed him into the wall, and then like nose first into, I don't know if it was the driver's side. No, it ended up being the driver's side because he spun around.
Lovely.
And it was not good. So anyway, Johnny Sauter was, as they say, parked by NASCAR.
I was going to say, are there any
quite a bit of trouble?
Well, are there, that's my next question. I know that with basketball, especially, and with football, there's like penalties. Like you can't, like I asked Kitlis and John, I was like, "Can you kick people in the face?" And they're like, "In what world do you think you can kick people in the face other than like boxing? Like you can't even do it in wrestling." I'm like, "Oh, you can't?" So what are NASCAR's rules for unsportsmanlike behavior? Do people get pulled off the track and they just get sidelined? Do they get pulled from the NASCAR team? Do they get fined with like a financial penalty? What happens when you act that way?
It's a combination of things. And so the reason this was such a big deal is, one, it happened under caution and it was blatantly intentional. There was no ifs, ands, or buts. It wasn't an accident. He didn't lose control of his car. He intentionally went after Austin Hill because of this little tap that happened earlier. And so we will see. I have not seen anything about the exact repercussions other than he was pulled out of the race that day. But like most sports, there's usually a suspension, a fine, and that's coming from the NASCAR level. It'll be interesting to see what his team does.
Yikes.
And I'm not sure what team he's on. I could go back and look. But, it's similar to NASCAR, where it's like Joe Gibbs Racing and Childress Racing and Penske. They all own all these different drivers and all these different cars. Yep. So I think there will be multiple levels of repercussions for his actions. But it's not something you see often.
Well, we
usually see a little tap, but we don't usually see this intentional. And I will post it this week on our It's Bro Time Instagram page because it is quite the hit.
Well, you do see celebrities and public figures losing endorsements and losing sponsorships all the time for either unsportsmanlike behavior or racial comments and slurs or homophobic comments and slurs. And I have to admit, like, look, I totally understand getting pissed off and carried away. There have been plenty of times when, and it was usually in a situation where I felt like I had to be protective of someone, like physically protective of someone. And I just fly into, I don't even know. You remember when I called you around Christmas at like 10:30 at night, like crying hysterically, and you're like, what's wrong? And it was a mess, but it was, it was cute, but like I get it, but at the same time, I'm also happy that these Fortune 500 companies, as well as these smaller companies, are taking that stuff really seriously. And as much as I hate to say it, like, I'm glad that they're pulling their endorsements, because they don't want to be affiliated with that, and they also don't want to endorse that kind of behavior. But man, on the other side of it, if that guy clipped him and he felt like he did it on purpose, the other, I don't know their names, but if dude number one really did like clip dude number two and send him spinning, like, I also almost can't blame dude number two for coming back out and retaliating, but I don't think he should have retaliated by going nose first into the driver's side. That's not cool. That's how you kill someone. Mm-hmm. I could see maybe pulling up next to them and trying to beat them. I could see maybe pulling closer to his car as a way to say, hey, like, I know you did that on purpose. I saw that. I'm not stupid. May the best person win. But I don't think trying to end someone's life is an appropriate response to this kind of thing. So, no, ma'am.
Agreed.
Not today.
Agreed.
NASCAR, man, it's been wild, though. I mean, usually you don't hear about a lot of this stuff. Usually you hear, oh, geez, someone's tire blew up and there was a 4-car pileup, things like that. But first we're throwing punches at each other a few weeks ago, and now here we are ramming into each other. Like, come on, my guys. Like, you gotta calm down, man. Like, I get it, but chill out. Testosterone, dude, I'm telling you, it's a real thing. It is a real thing. Well, Abby, thank you very much for doing all these funny little patchy segments with me. I really appreciate it. And thank you to you and also to Mr. Mike Kitless. I don't know why I'm calling him Mr. Mike Kitless. Do I call him that? I usually just call him Kit.
You do.
Well, whatever.
You're very formal this evening.
I know. You know why? It's because I have been rewatching Downton Abbey in anticipation for the movie that's coming out in September. Because I told you, for Dixon Politics After Hours, which will come out in July, I thought the movie was coming out in December, but it's coming out in September. So I am like sweating. I'm getting caught up. And I do have a tendency when I watch that show, I become more formal. I don't know what it is. I made a profile on the Tinder. Did I tell you this?
No.
Oh, I made a profile on the Tinder because I wanted to put the name of our company in there so that people are like, oh, Bing Bong, what's this? Right? So it's like a picture of me, my little headshot, and then it's, just all about our company. There's a guy that I was talking to. His name is Rick. And I was like, I wonder if he'll let me call him Richard. But anyways, on that note, for those of you in the New York City area, if you see me on the Tinder, yes, that is really me. No, I'm not really looking to date. Sorry. Just want you to check out my company. Shameless plug, whatever. Call it what you want. This wraps up this funny little sad yet happy, confusing Flute featuring episode of At the Newsstand. We so appreciate you, all of our listeners, tuning in from all over the world every single week. You guys are amazing. Just a little behind the scenes, like, we see our numbers, you guys, and they're just going up and up and up and up and up, and we're reaching new corners of the planet that we never thought we'd ever be able to reach. And I have a lot of followers from Germany and the UK, which I think is just delicious. So we thank you, and we hope that you enjoy all of our different segments, including the ones that we just added to the show. So we will see you next Wednesday. And once again, my name is Samantha.
And I'm Abby.
And you just listened to At the Newsstand. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Thank you for listening to At the Newsstand, presented by Whatever You Say Productions in affiliation with Slam It with Sam and Oh My God Newspaper. To learn about these and more, join us at whateveryousayproductions.com.